Welcome to Lost in the Script TV, episode 178. Savior. Hold on. All right. Got a nice little show today. The savior complex that is extremely affecting our community and a lot of people. What up, Mark? What's up, man? Yeah, a lot to get to. Hopefully these stories ain't getting too regurgitated. Hold on, let me make sure all this is loaded up. All right. What up, y'all? Hope y'all had a good week, as stress-free as possible, as always. We're gonna we're gonna speak on the topic that we talked about last week. We'll go into a little further this week. So a little bit more information came out, not information, but a little bit more things are being said. We're gonna address it further with with Denzel and a few others. Got some that's still ain't over this election either. Hold on, y'all. Let me get to it. All right. Anyway, let's go ahead and get right into it. We'll start this with this episode I titled Savior because it's a lot of things I'm gonna get to that goes into that. But first, I want to talk about the loss of idols, or at least people we deem worthy of looking up to. In the entertainment industry, the last couple of years, a lot of the people who have been held in high esteem or respected for their craft, their art, their talent, are being looked at very differently now because things have came out about them that has obviously changed the perception. So I'm gonna go with this one. It's the most recent. Denzel Washington has been sober for 10 years, says he used to drink 2 bottles of wine a day, and I've done damage to the body. Now, last week we talked about Denzel and his decision to come out and say that in that movie Gladiator 2 that he is starring in, that there was a scene in which he kissed a man. The scene was taken out, and he said how people weren't ready for that or whatever. And a lot of people asked the question, why did Denzel make a decision to say that? And now in an interview with I think it was GQ or Esquire, I'm sorry. Did an interview with Esquire where he went into full detail of his career, highs and lows, and moments throughout his life that he wanted to give to the people. And in that interview, he pointed out his use of drugs, heroin and alcohol. He said he never was addicted, but he was a person who used it. And it made me think of him. The reason why this became a thing that I think got even more blown up is because for years Denzel was seen as one of the few celebs, actors that didn't fall into the category of disgracing themselves. There was never really any controversy around him, any scandals really. He was able, for the most part, to keep his name and his image clean. He's Denzel, so back in the day, there was a lot of talk about him and possible infidelity, but people moved on past that. But anyway, so when he comes out and he acknowledges his faults and his flaws and stuff, a lot of people feel like, along with what he was doing last week with his talking about doing a kissing scene, that there's only 2 reasons he would be doing this. First being, he's getting older, he's retiring, so, there's no need for him to hold on to a certain image. You want to tell the truth at the end. You're retiring. And this is pretty much his version of the Quincy Jones interview. Quincy Jones, when he did that infamous interview years ago, where he let it all on the line, he told a complete, honest truth about anything he was asked about. This seems to be the same thing Denzel is doing. But there's also another way people are looking at this, which is that possibly he's coming out with bearing his truth and everything that he's and all his flaws, as I said earlier, because he's jumping in front of something. Ever since this Diddy thing became a bigger topic and these charges came down. Any celebrity that moves any differently, any celebrity that operates out of the norm, people are accusing of being tied up to that type of stuff. But I wanted to show this right here. It says, Denzel Washington revealed to Esquire magazine as part of a recent cover story that he was 10 years sober. He cut off alcohol at 60 years old after a 15-year drinking pattern that started in the late 1990s. And it's funny because he did that movie where he played as an alcoholic. I think he was a pilot, if I'm not mistaken. So it's funny, art imitates life. He cut off alcohol at 60 years. Washington, he never got strung out on alcohol, but was more or less drinking daily for over a decade. He even built a $10,000 bottle of wine selling in 1999. Yada, yada, yada. I had an idea. I had this ideal idea of wine and all that, which is what it was at first. That's a very subtle thing. I mean, I drink the best. Washington said, yada, yada, yada. So he goes on to this drinking topic. It didn't really, in this article at least, speak on the shooting up he said he did back in the day. And he told the story of his childhood friends and the hood he was from and his acting chops. And now I haven't paid attention to a lot of these celeb interviews for the most part, but so maybe I'm wrong when I say this. But it was the first time I seen him spend so much time speaking on his children, his sons, who are in the business. So once again, it could just be he's retiring. But if we go into conspiracy world, normally when someone starts acknowledging certain family members or there's seems to be a change happening, a shift happening in their career, it's because there's about to be, I want to use the word sacrifice, but something of that ilk. I'm going to show this little clip here. In fact, no, let's skip that. Let me show this right here. His two sons, who are, like I said, in the industry. I think his younger son, if I'm not mistaken, is behind the scenes mostly. John David Washington and Malcolm Washington are the new kind of Hollywood dynasty. Along with this, there was an interview with Samuel Jackson where he says that he don't believe that this is a form of nepotism. And it reminds me of that commercial I remember back in the day with Chris Paul, the NBA player, and Stephen Curry. They did a commercial together where on an escalator, they showed Chris Paul going down, who's a superstar in the NBA. He was older. He's getting long in the tooth, as they say. And they showed Stephen Curry going up the escalator. He was rising in his stardom, his popularity, and his achievements, showing that it was like a passing of the torch between the best point guard in the league. This is what this reminds me of. As Denzel leaves out, he's helping his sons, or at least his sons are starting to grow in more popularity. Samuel Jackson said he didn't want to call it nepotism. Basically, what I'm getting to is, I'm wondering, in the next couple years, will we see that scandal that we haven't seen from Denzel? That's what I'm getting to. His sons are moving off in the industry. They're starting to move behind the scenes a little bit more, become more public, and he's trying to wind down his career. Is it possible that with the things we're hearing, the way he's moving, is just the end of his career, or are we going to finally see that scandal? Mark says he could be protecting his children from putting himself in front. That is expected from a parent. Conspiracy. Exactly. That's what I'm getting to. You know, and some people don't like the conspiracy side of these things, but normally, unfortunately, part of the thing that comes with these people being in the entertainment industry or part of Hollywood is that there's certain things they have to do where, whether it's a coincidence or not, people close to them end up gone. There's some type of tragedy that happens. We saw it with someone like Jennifer Hudson, for instance. Some crazy guy who's an ex of her family member ends up coming and killing multiple family members of hers. Tragedy. But then there was accusation towards her of, hey, around the same time that this happened, she was starting to rise in stardom. Same thing happened with someone else I was just thinking of. What's the name? The rapper Meg Thee Stallion. Right before her career gets ready to take off, her mother passes. Now, apparently her mother was already sick, so that may have just be coincidence, like I said. But I wonder if in the next 2 to 3 years, or next year, 2025, that's when the Diddy case is going to pop off. The trial happens. In the next year, 2 years, will we see some sort of scandal hit Denzel Washington where we'll all look at him vastly different than we did beforehand? You know, hopefully not. Hopefully he's one of the people that didn't have to go down that road. But then again, it's Hollywood, so they all have to go down that road. But what up, Honorable? I should have got that video, but I ain't get it. And I want to show this video here to kind of show what I mean. Honorable said, "Don't speak that on Denzel." Hey, I'm praying I'm wrong, but we've seen this story plenty of times. For the most part, our legends, I would say in general, but particularly we're talking about us, our legends are not allowed to live long. Our legends typically live long enough to become a villain. Only a handful of times does somebody in our entertainment legends are they able to go away and just live life and never be smeared in public. But so hopefully not. But we'll see. I want to show this video here though. Oh, another reason why I'm coming to that conclusion. Hey, if I'm not mistaken, oh yeah, what up, Pop? If I'm not mistaken, didn't Denzel's career really take off in his late 30s, mid 30s? I want to say that he didn't reach his real big break until late 30s, early 40s, if I'm not mistaken. So it seems like the same thing is happening to his sons, where later in their life they're getting their just due. So
your kitchen on Thanksgiving, yeah, because you start preparation 3 weeks.
I just want to play that part there when he said it's their time.
All the actors said that you really took care of every time. It's their time.
So we'll see. Shout out to him. Hopefully I'm just spewing nonsense, but normally these type of things go a certain way. Speaking of icons and people being respected, we got this here. Ebony magazine names VP Kamala Harris Icon of the Year. The Democratic presidential candidate says she is honored and humbled by the award to be presented as at its Power 100 award on November 17th. Usher, Cynthia Erivo, and yada yada. Apparently she didn't show up, did she? Honorable says, love his wife, so supportive. Yeah, it was his early 30s. Yeah. So it seems like his sons are going to be the same trajectory as his career. But if I'm not mistaken, she didn't show up to this award show when someone else came there to collect the award for her. They said she was on vacation in Hawaii. And it made me keep thinking of the fact that Hawaiians have been saying for the last couple of years, especially, it's been getting louder and louder, stop coming here to vacation. It is harming the local economy. Do not move here. Stop buying houses and land. Remember when the fires happened and people started looking at this real close with Obama and all these other people having all these homes built out there, and they were complaining. You know, Hawaiians are called American citizens. They have representation in the government, but they keep saying we're not a part of America. We're literally, we've been colonized. We literally are being forced to be American at this point. And everybody is tells them, get over it. It is what it is. But she didn't show up. I thought it was funny, even though they gave her this Icon of the Year award and she lost. You know, it's kind of unfortunate when they reward the loser in these situations. Now I want getting dressed up special, and I know I'm going to be in front of these people, and I'm practicing what it is I'm going to be saying, and I'm going to be presenting it. He says, it's what I've been doing. I bring it up to say, it amazes me that a lot of these people in the industry, Hollywood, or actors, artists, rappers, or singers, they typically have some sort of religious personality, maybe even a separate personality, because most of Katt Williams' career, his identity, at least his character he's played, has been the pimp. You know, the whole Pimp Chronicles series and all the other stuff. So it's funny to me that later in his life, when he takes on this idea of this truth teller, he adopts more of a faith, more of a Jehovah's Witness or religious aura about him. And then at the beginning of this year, when he did an interview with Shannon Sharp, and he said what he said, and it goes viral, and 80 million views later, and they talk about opening a portal. And now here we are at the end of the year, and all these things that have been exposed this year. I'm hearing Shannon Sharp kind of inferred that he wants to do a part 2 to the interview to end the year. And I'm wondering if that interview gets done, will it be what they're saying it is, which is the closing of the portal? Even though next year we expect even more crazy stuff to happen with the trial happening and all this other stuff, maybe more gets exposed. Katt Williams is going to be somebody I'm going to be paying attention to even more the next 2 years. I'm making a point to say that I'm going to be watching Katt closer the next couple of years too to see how this ends for him. And I want to jump to this now. More fodder, I guess. Jonathan Majors' ex-girlfriend settles assault and defamation lawsuit. So after he came out and said he was innocent and he didn't do what he did, and she sued him and said, "You're lying," she's now dropping it. At the same time, we see that he proposed to old girl Megan Good. So his PR is working hard, even though he lost all his opportunities and with these movies and stuff. We'll see if he's able to bounce back. I do want to point out too, he's another person that has a very strange personality. Honorable says, "Is this not the black man rite of passage to end with religion?" I don't know about rite of passage, but I will say, as I said, a lot of these people come into the industry as a character, obviously. It's entertainment. But by the time they turn into this truth teller, this person who's supposed to be, I don't want to say the word leader, but somebody who's a light bearer, I guess, they go into religion. Even if they spent most of their career speaking against it. And with Katt Williams, he speaks against religion, but yet he says he's spiritual. And most of the things most of the topics he's bringing up, or the things he's bringing up to reinforce his spirituality, is the Bible. So it's just funny to me. All right, let me move forward in this. Diddy got people in the damn jail turned out. Allegedly, ex-inmate claims he has groupies behind bars. So the stuff going on with Diddy, not going to spend too much time on this. They saying that he's getting calls in, he's paying putting books on people's commissary in order to get their phone time. He got men in there making his bed up for him. He's walking around the prison trying to be a counselor for everybody. He's making calls to get stuff recanted outside of the jail. His sons are also said to be helping with that. As a matter of fact, I got this. I'm going to play this right quick. Let me play this.
That's why I came. Ego got the best of me when I got that $1 million, because I thought I was Puff. So I'm telling you, there's stories, I can't say who, but there's stories like of his like main girl that I was dealing with, because I thought I was that guy. I really thought it was about me
at the time.
Yeah, in '98, like I got on.
J-Lo?
I got on.
You was dating J-Lo?
No, not her. I'm just saying.
Okay,
I can't say who.
All right.
So the inference right here is that Sean is saying that he was messing around with, I guess you would say, Kim Porter at this time, at the same time as Diddy. And I'm bringing it up to show this right here. Says, "I believe the jail groupie stories, men don't know how to act when the dudes with money come around." Well, it ain't just money. That's life-changing money. Diddy is at least he got a couple $100 million. Dudes in jail that been locked down for 20 years, 15 years, 30 years. Yeah, if I can get this dude to just give me a couple thousand, maybe give me 50, 30, 40,000, I can live off that for the rest of my life in here. So I agree with you on that. But here, Diddy accomplices attempt to silence grand jury witness Courtney Burgess. Now, this dude, Courtney Burgess, says that he has tapes of Diddy, and he says he has the actual memoir of Kim Porter. Once again, I brought up the Sean comment where he seems to be implying that he was dealing with Kim Porter, because right here, the sons, Diddy's sons, or his son and old buddy son, Christian and Quincy Combs, they basically came out and said, I'm sorry, not the I'll be sure dude, but Quincy and Christian Combs came out and said, we cease and desist, give us that information, because it's our mothers, we don't want this stuff public. I'm wondering if Diddy told his sons the truth about their mother yet. Has he told them, I was into some stuff and your mother was also into some things as well? and they simply don't want it out public because there's already an image painted of her. Arnold said, but respectfully, when was Kim ever the main girl? I guess she would be right. She would have to be at some point because he wasn't talking about J-Lo, and we don't know about anybody else publicly at least. But yeah, I'm wondering if there's an image painted of Kim Porter as, this nice woman. She was married. She was dating Diddy. She had these kids. She was treated poorly. He ended up possibly doing something to her when she passed away. But I think if we get more information about all these people, not just her, we'll find that there ain't as many victims as people think they are. Almost says victim. Yeah, we don't know how much of a victim she really was. And I don't like to say that too much. Somebody passed away, you don't want to speak about him a certain way. But I keep saying she left the other guy to be with Diddy. I mean, she chose this. I'm not just going to say it's because of money and influence. I think sometimes people, they go where they have common desires with certain people. I'm gonna leave it at that. But the Sons don't want to get out, and at some point it's going to get out. They keep talking about these tapes being sold throughout Hollywood, and I don't know how true that is, but we'll see. Moving on. Another update to a story. Illinois High Court overturns Jussie Smollett's convictions in allegedly staged hate crime. Allegedly. They still using the word allegedly with this. So he was told that he had to serve some community time, and he had to, it was something else he had to do, pay $10,000 fine or something. And after that, his charges would be dismissed. The convictions would be dismissed, should I say. This is crazy. And I remember when we first talked about this story and we showed that the people that's higher up that was dealing with this case had affiliations with, the Obamas and a few other people. So I'm wondering if the situation, and it went the way they said it would go, which is he would serve his time and it would be wiped away. But is the reason why he got this slap on the wrist because he was an actor and famous, he's a gay man, or because he has connections to very powerful people? I think the obvious answer is the latter. It's funny because the more they do this stuff, the more this story stays in the media, the more people talk about it and the people connected to it. In a stunning move, the Illinois Supreme Court on Thursday overturned the convictions of former Empire actor Jussie Smollett, Jussie Smollett, should I say? I've been saying Juicy because of whatchamacallit. Honestly, Obama was protecting LGBT biracial. Yeah. Finding that special prosecutor decision to retry him for allegedly staging a hate crime against himself violated his rights after Cook County State's attorney office previously dropped all charges. So if you remember correctly, he was charged, the charges were dropped, and then the state, with more proof, came at him and charged him again for it. And now they said that they were, they said their retrying of him was as a violation of his rights. The High Court's decision was found that the prosecutor's office entered into an agreement with Smollett when it dismissed the case, closes a chapter in perhaps the most controversial and closely watched low-level felony case in Illinois in recent years. We are aware that this case has generated significant public interest, that many people were dissatisfied with the resolution of the original case and believe it was unjust. The opinion said. Nevertheless, what would be more unjust than a resolution of any one criminal case would be holding from this court that the state was not bound to honor agreements upon which people have detrimentally relied. They got him off. They was able to find a loophole to get it completely removed from him, saying that the state didn't follow what it said it was going to do by throwing it out by the first time they dropped the charges and they had an agreement. So, yeah. You see, but weeks after they indicted him, prosecutor dropped all counts, noting that forfeited his $10,000 bond, yada, yada, yada. That's pretty much all there is. This is going to piss off the, because he accused this on the MAGA people. So this is going to be another storyline that the Trump supporters can push and be more angry with. You're letting the man out who clearly lied. They call people all type of names for saying he was lying to you. Now I want to show, because this was just funny to me. Cuban Gooding Jr. had a response to this.
We have to ask you if you have any reaction when you heard the news about Jussie Smollett this morning. And I think you and Jussie have worked on something together. Am I correct in that?
Well, I did Empire.
Right.
So
okay.
did one episode of Empire where I was her ex-love interest. I never saw him on the set, but I think, you know, it's almost like it's time for accountability with what people say. You know, we went so far one way with the movement of believe everybody in their accusations, and now we're kind of experiencing repercussions for that, you know. And if this young man got in a situation that got him locked up and went to the court case, which is what he did, go with God. You know, I know how the scenario is going to a courtroom as a celebrity. It's like they want to sensationalize every moment of it. And now that he's been set free from that, I mean, that's his own story. And again, it's like you comment on that, how you feel about it. But I think this is just the climate.
Cuban Gooding was bullshit this whole. I show this because what we know about Cuban Gooding Jr. being the wild boy that he is, and he semi was defending him, but not really. He's saying, "Hey, let God deal with it." Cuban, you might want to stay away from these type of stories too. There's things we've heard about you, and and not just hoax type stories. You might want to stay away from these stories too, bro. And then we gotta hold on. All right, back to this. Uncle Luke sparks controversy. I would say he was defending himself here, not you. That's what I was thinking too. Uncle Luke sparks controversy. If you get lynched, you deserve it. Comment on blackmail Trump voters ignites backlash. It's funny because he said this multiple times now. He said it in an interview. He said it in a tweet. And now he's saying it in a spaces. So let me play it.
And again, I will tell you, if your black ass commander get lynched in one of them bushes back there, you fucking signed up for it. You voted for it. You deserve it. If that's what happened. If they take them motherfucking rednecks because of you. And again,
now you see the name of this room that he started. Well, I know FBA has made Trump's cabinet. Funny enough, now Trump has made obviously HUD. HUD is always somebody they always choose a black person to run HUD. They chose a black American to run HUD, so now they can't use that whole nobody in his cabinet. But what is up with Uncle Luke keep wanting to push this idea of almost wishing and hoping that some black person gets quote unquote lynched to prove a point about Trump? Like I see these people that's saying how the economy is going to fall out and all this other stuff, and I'm wondering, you do know that if things fail, nobody's going to be caring about you saying stuff like "I told you so" or something. You should always be wishing the best. I would imagine you should never be hoping that you're right, especially if it comes to the detriment of people you so-called care about. Botham says, how much did he get paid? Where are those numbers? Well, I thought he said he didn't care about politics. He said a couple days ago after the election that he don't care about politics. He moving on. He just chilling now. Nah, he back on his shit. In a heated online rant, rapper and entrepreneur Luther Campbell, better known as Uncle Luke, unleashed his harsh criticism towards black male voters who supported Donald Trump in 2024 presidential election. Campbell's incendiary statement, if you get lynched, you deserve it. You voted for it. So he crashing out at this point. And like I said, the second Trump won that election, we see with MSNBC, there are a lot of layoff, CNN. We all said that these people were not fighting to really get somebody elected that they think would actually help the country. They were fighting to get somebody elected so that they can keep their jobs. But yeah, now that's not happening. So now he want black men strung up and hung because he was paid by this party to push propaganda on the demographic. And now the party line, or not the party line, but this demographic, these Kamala supporters, these boule, so-called talented tent, these political, industrial connected people, now they have to push the idea that it's black men who voted for Trump and they should die, which is crazy. Oh, man. Because now any black man that gets any story now that becomes national, some black dude getting shot by a police officer or something, even if he didn't even vote, even if he voted for Kamala, the story is going to be, see, we told you, and they're going to be laughing at somebody's death more than likely. Which is not it's not like we haven't seen that before, but yeah, they're just waiting now. Former Dallas police officer hit with nearly $100 million judgment in wrongful death of Botham Jean. Shout out to them. A federal jury awarded $98 million in damages to the family and estate of Botham Jean, who was killed by former Dallas police officer Amber Geiger in an apartment in 2018. About after 3 hours of deliberation, jurors found Geiger used excessive force in the shooting and killing Jean, a 26-year-old accountant and Geiger's upstairs neighbor, yada, yada, yada. The jury also found she was acting in her capacity as an officer. The jury awarded $10 million. Sorry, hold on. The jury awarded $10 million to Jean's estate for his pain, loss of life earnings, $14 million each to his mother and father for their past and future loss and mental anguish, and $60 million in punitive damages against Geiger. Jean's mother, Allison Jean, said despite her sadness, the verdict symbolizes that the jury recognizes her son's value in the world. So you saying your son's value was $100 million. We'll miss our brother dearly. Over the course of 3-8 trial, I'm trying to go jump down. Now, if I'm not mistaken, most of this money they're not going to get because it was winnings against her. So I don't know. Most of this money they will not receive. So I guess once again it is just symbolic. They're not going to get most of this money, but I'm pretty sure that might be the biggest settlement for a wrongful death ever. So congratulations to them. Honestly, his value was life-changing money. But is it life-changing if you never get it? Once again, this was not against the this was against her, the actual police officer. And she don't got this money to pay, so it's just you want it just in a headline pretty much. I want to speak on this story. What up, Ashley? Yeah, I'll speak on it. Forget it. Whatever. Let's go ahead and talk about this a little bit. Podcast host Myron from the Fresh and Fit podcast, who went viral prior to a verbal altercation with rapper Asia Doll, gets into another similar situation with a young black female who ends up getting into a fight with two women connected to the host after he disrespects her. I'm not going to show this whole thing. I just want to show one thing for a second. Hold on. Let me just play one thing. Quick piece of this.
I'm not about you fucking scared here. Thank you. Thank you. Your mom does too. And everything you're saying to me will bounce off of me and stick right back to you, your kids, and that bitch that you fucking on. Thank you. You just transferred your energy and gave me all your money, nigga. I declare and I decree that. This show is going to be in the...
This Florida. You stupid nigga. This is Florida. Get the fuck up out of here, bitch. This is Florida. You niggas aren't going to be... This is Florida.
Don't gotta play no more. I'm saying she's not 80 years old. Well, they jumped her good. I'm gonna get to that. So you can tell that this Myron dude for the last couple of months, he's been trying to be so controversial. He keeps calling black people the N-word. I think he's like East African, Arab, or something like that. And I thought this show got canceled. Well, it got demonetized. They got demonetized on YouTube. I think they're on Rumble or something now at this point, or Twitch, one of those. But I'm bringing this up because we're in the area now where obviously everything is fake. So you see here, they got into this argument. These dudes on this podcast be talking crazy to these women. Everybody asks the same questions. Why do these women go on this platform? And I keep saying it's because that's the formula for interaction. He doesn't care about being the bad guy anymore. So he brings women on. They understand the game plan is going to be create an argument, debate. They're going to walk away hating me more, and they'll walk away with you being the victim of some verbal abuse. So after this little interaction, she ends up getting into a fight. I'm not going to show the fight in the elevator. She got into a little fight. Says he sounds so uncomfortable saying the N-word, cringe. They playing them too. Yeah. So this is just rage bait viewership. So the girl comes out and she starts talking crazy, saying how black men are so disrespectful to black women and they hate black women and all this other stuff. And then people found out, well, she's not black American. Obviously, he's not. And she has former posts where she made it clear she's not interested in being around or dating or anything with black men. So I keep saying these people, when I'm not saying that there's never been a divide as far as gender between black men and black women historically in this country. Obviously, there's been extreme circumstances placed on us where there's been some, disagreements. There's been some political movements that have been forced to be created because, as they say, there's a lot of, when there's trauma, you need therapy. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the black community that needs to be dealt with. But I feel like it's been exacerbated tremendously since the influx of, I'll say, outsiders in the last 40, 50 years. Normally when you see these type of viral clips and stories and moments, typically, I'm not saying never, typically it is not even black American. But the headline, the story, all the talk becomes black men, black women. And I feel like there does need to be a separation. What up, Dre? So when she came out and she did all that, people found out who she was. She got it, I ain't gonna say exposed. People realized that this might have been just them playing people for viewership. As I've been saying it for months. It's just outrage at this point, fake outrage. People know that these people are purposely trying to anger you with their words and being assholes. You keep going to their platform because y'all have an agreement. And then the worse and worse it gets. Now it's getting violent. So that's how you know it's getting more desperate. Hold on. All right. But speaking of that, devastating. Nonprofit founder says flight ban pauses plans to build school in Haiti. So I'm sure y'all heard that story. A plane was leaving Florida, U.S., going towards Haiti. And during that flight, gunshots started ringing from Haitians toward, I won't say Haitians, from Haiti towards the plane they were forced to do a emergency landing and everything. So now U.S. prohibits airlines from flying to Haiti after planes were shot by gangs. These gangs, I'm still torn on whether or not they are being backed. More than likely, their backing is coming from some alphabet agency in order to cause more turmoil because they're trying to get some type of resources out of there. And like I've been saying for the past, since the early 1900s, America and the West in general has been pretty much targeting Haiti like crazy. But at this point, this is how you know this is the purpose of it, is to drain them, to bring them further and further down, because they know whoever did this, whoever gang at least gave the green light to this, you know that when you shoot at a commercial flight, immediately they're going to lock down the borders and they're going to hurt you as far as tourism. And I don't know how much money Haiti makes from tourism, but I'm pretty sure it's probably a big part of their economy at this point. So this is clearly an attempt to further drain them of any prospects economically in order to, I'm going to say, they want to bring the Haitians so low, because I will say, whatever you want to say about the Haitians, whatever, they're very prideful people. And as they should be, they're very prideful people. They're trying to break their will so that the Haitians in Haiti will beg America or whatever country to come in and fix it. They're trying to break them again. It's so obvious. Anima says those games are definitely backed by somebody government. Exactly. So I'm wondering how long it's gonna take. And it's not. I wish it wouldn't happen. But they killed your president. Now they're tearing your economy up. They got gangs ravaging your streets. Now they got these gangs doing things that will impact everybody as far as tourism. And let's be honest, right now, the last couple of years, Haiti has not been one of the most popular tourist destinations. So this is just another bad headline for them. So I'm looking at the Trump administration. I don't know if he does it, but I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of years if you see them get so desperate that they just gotta throw the white flag, and it's unfortunate because they've been on them for a long time and they've been standing strong for the most part. And I don't know how much longer they can deal with this. I don't like the spinning the narrative that this was anything to do with outsiders. The blame on Haiti conditions is Haitians to hold. I can agree with that because the people in Haiti are the ones taking the bribery money and the resources to harm their own people. So I agree. But you can't ignore the outside forces having a play in it. If people are desperate enough, they do things that will only benefit them. People are selfish. Unfortunately, people are selfish and they'll do things that benefit them, even if it harms the rest of their entire country. So I agree with you that we got to put the most of the blame at those people willing to take the money or the resources to hurt their own. But it's real unfortunate that they're doing it so blatantly at this point, and nobody does anything. But may the Most High be with them, man. All right, I was gonna show this too, but I don't think I need to show this. I can move forward a little quicker. Oh, we can go to here. I don't know, since I told everybody to ignore outside forces against my own people, I'm passing it around. All right, Davido warns Black Americans against relocating to Africa. I didn't know until Election Day. So many of these Afrobeat artists live in America. I didn't even know that. I think it's WizKid, Davido. I don't know about the Burna Boy dude, but a lot of them live in America, are citizens, and voted in the election. Which is funny because we found out that a lot of Nigerians in particular. Oh, he was born here? Or are you saying you was born here? Or you saying people who were born here, you worry about them? Let me know, Honorable. But Nigerian Afrobeat superstar Davido, better known as Davido, who was cautioned Black Americans about increasing interest in moving to Africa. Davido voices doubts about the trend in the interview with the podcast The Big Homie's House, pointing to the continent's present problems, especially Nigeria, where he's from. He basically said the economy isn't very good. It wouldn't make sense to go there right now. I said, don't just live here. He was born here. A few of them have been. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So he's born in America, but he's Nigerian. So I guess he obviously claimed his country. I didn't know that. So he's saying basically, he was saying when the host of the broadcast asked if Black Americans wanted to go back to their homeland, Davido said, leave America and go where? He emphasized the systemic problems and economic challenges facing African nations. Speaking further from experience as someone raised in Nigeria after being born in Atlanta, Georgia, the singer added, oh, you're right, on my bad. He was born in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm not cool back home. The economy now is in shambles. Dual citizen. Wait, I thought he was from there. No, it says right here he was born in Atlanta, Georgia. I think let's be honest. We know what happens. They move here, they have a kid, then they send a kid back, and they usually they usually go to school in Nigeria and then come back here to the States when they're older. He said, oh, that's a good point because I think Nigeria has dual citizenship. Yeah, he was born in Atlanta. It's crazy. I didn't know that. He's telling people not to go to, don't even bother going to Africa because of the economy and stuff. Which we already were saying that. Let me jump to this now. Shout out to Mark. Mark sent me this. I'm going to play this right here.
I'm not Black. Let me say that again. I am not Black, okay? Hear me out. Growing up, my mom absolutely hated when we refer to ourselves as Black. She's like, you're not Black, you're Nigerian, you're African. I feel like the term someone is Black obviously comes from the slave era, but it also just describes displaced people that don't know their heritage. So I feel like people that do know their heritage, to try and curb racism in some way, people are going to be racist. Ignorance is ignorance. You can't. But just curb racism in a small way. Stop referring to yourself as Black. You know, if you know where you're from, you're raised in a certain household. You know, Somalians are Somalians, Ethiopians are Ethiopians, Nigerians are Nigerians. Like, if you know where you're from, why refer to yourself as a color? I feel like when we say Black, it just sounds so harsh and like, this is Black. I'm brown. You know, I'm Nigerian at the end of the day. Like, that's who I am. That's where I come from. So I understand when you say Black British or Black American because you don't know where you're from. You're just a person of color in the city that you're in. Obviously, you still be treated the way you're treated, but just like, I feel like it just, when I hear someone refer to me as Black, it just sounds so harsh, especially coming from a certain demographic. I think if you have the privilege of knowing where you're from, you shouldn't refer to yourself as a color because it further pushes the racism narrative and further divides us, to be honest. And I also think it's a mindset thing, because I remember that podcast where there's I think they were Somali. They're like, we're Somalians, we're not black. And everyone had a problem with that. Okay, if you're not black, what are you? Like he said, he's Somalian. He's not defined by a colour that doesn't even fit the category of his skin. I know this is a very nuanced conversation, and obviously it depends on your mindset. And some people are like, I beg, I'm black. Okay, oh, you're black. For me, and for a lot of other people, we don't want to be described by a colour, because I feel like it further pushes that the racist narrative and also further divides everybody. We're all human beings. We come from different walks of life.
I would say they secure their children's future with the aid of birthright citizenship, then send them to their countries to be raised pretending that they learn their culture while saving money. Also, you remember that video I played of it was a Nigerian woman in America, and she was saying how she's fearful that her children will not be connected to her culture. She was speaking how her parents were able to get her to somewhat be connected to hers, but it's not as strong as their connection, and she fears that her kids and grandkids, by the time they get 3 generations in, will just be American. So she's saying something, I guess that's the same thing, which is they don't want to be considered black because they feel like it would just make them connected to just something that isn't really their culture. Even though she's saying it in a weird way, she's saying that calling yourself black enforces racism. I don't understand that part. Honestly, it's the best wig I've seen on one. I'm playing that to say, because we know that this is the thing that they already said, their parents taught them this, but social media and pop culture have convinced them that they can't have that opinion anymore, and they have to attach themselves to black culture. Like this right here, I want to show this one right here too, because that's her. This one right here. Somebody says, the Union of Black Americans. The Black Americans are the only people you're conflating dark skin with and self-identify black. Somebody said, white isn't limited to just white Americans. Europeans are white too. So tell me, why should Black Americans be accepted as the only black people we have in the world? And this dude right here pointed out, he said, Africans with sense, this is Mark Gordon sent this as well. Africans with sense petitioned the UK government against being mislabeled as black. Now we are left with disingenuous, dishonest, and ahistorical people like you. There was a petition in the UK because they said don't call me black. There is nothing black about me. This is a petition asking the government to make the calling of African origin black unacceptable. Africans are the only race called in a negative adjective. The word black as a definition says it all. Dark, gloomy, Black is often associated with catastrophic events such as Black Monday, which refers to Monday, October 8, 1987. The stock markets around the world crashed. Black Tuesday, Black Wednesday, Black Thursday, Black Friday, etc. Black is derogatory to people of African origin, and in my opinion, it is the root of all forms of racism. What is that? It says, we low-key about to help them bring back not to be an option. Do you see who Trump picked to run OMB? No, I didn't see that one yet. They failed to get that done. Shocker. But I want to point this part right here out again. Black is derogatory to people of African origin, and in my opinion, it is the root of all forms of racism. Where is that? What is that? I want y'all to try to help me understand why is their point of view the term black is what is the root of racism, being called black. What is that about? I guess because of their own upbringing, they view black as detached from a culture. So when you're detached from a culture, there's less respect you gain. So people feel like you can be, people feel like, I guess you can be oppressed easier. So because you're not connected to a greater culture, we don't have to have any respect for you. I guess it's the point they have. Marco said, only we are black. I ain't giving up. Adam says, probably Black Law Dictionary. Yeah, I'm guessing it has to do something to do with that because I don't get it. Here's another one. Africans are not black. Why the use of the term black for Africans should be abandoned. This is the whole thesis right here. Kwesi, I'm not even trying to say that name. I apologize. This is 2014. The article argues that use of the term black and white as human categories together with the symbolic use of the terms help to sustain the perception of Africans as inferior because their categorical use was accompanied by a long-standing set of conceptual relationships that use the term symbolically to connote a range of bad and good traits, respectfully. The set of associations create the underlying semantic systems that normalizes the assumed superiority of the labeled white and the assumed inferiority of those labeled black. But they're talking about color codes. We know, I understand that part. But it's funny they say that just that term is the root of racism. Let me play this now. Now this is a he sent this to Mark. This is a Black American culture is becoming global religion. This is a church. I think he said this is an Asian church, right? It says African is more of a dirty term globally associated with poverty and begging. I don't get what they're trying to say either. Well, yeah, and another thing we've seen, and at least I've seen in the last couple of years, as I keep pointing out, more and more of them are saying that they want to be referred to as Black as their race and African as a category of what continent they're from, or because they're making the point now that not everyone in Africa is quote unquote Black. You have the Northern Arabs, you have the East Africans who are usually Arab or Arab as well. They're saying because not everybody on the continent is Black, then African can't be a race. It has to be Black as the race. So now when I see them saying that they don't want to be referred to as Black because it is the root of racism, yeah, it's kind of confusing. We're going to say Korean church. It's a Korean church. I'm not surprised when it comes to the Asians. They've been more, other than white Americans, obviously, they've been probably the more. They assimilate very easily into what we consider to be Black entertainment over there. What up, brilliant? Peace. They adopt your culture, not your struggle. Well, yeah.
Ready? Mm-hmm. Swag. Do it.
Speaking of culture and adopting it, let me show this too. From sus to Riz, parents of Gen Z alpha kids try to keep up with the quote unquote slang. And this is Negroes' fault. Negroes got on the internet. It started with that app Vine, and you know, you had YouTube, obviously, you had all these other websites. Negroes got on the internet and began to decode everything we say in our neighborhoods. Even there's a national Black speak, I'll call it Black speak. Then there's regional as well. There's certain words we use in certain regions and states that we lived in. And you Negroes got on the internet and gave every single definition, every single way of using every word to the world. And now that they're using them, you're saying you're stealing your shit. Honorable says the internet has exposed too much of our culture. Everybody just sampling a little bit of everything. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like y'all gave them all the sauce, and now you surprised. Like, for instance, if you talk to the average, I say 40 and under, I'll say 40, 45 white American. Even if they're in corporate America, they could be in rural, middle America, wherever. For the most part, I'll say a good percentage of them have some history of listening to some form of hip hop. You got to remember, in that around the mid to early 90s, hip hop became the rebellious music. As I talk about all the time, hip hop replaced rock and roll or heavy metal in movies for when somebody's doing something bad or wrong or making a decision that's going to cause them to lose somebody or something. Hip hop replaced rock and roll as that low vibrational energy. So a lot of these white kids seen hip hop as a rebellious music. So when they were 12, 13, 14 years old, that's what they were listening to. Now they're 45 and they have some of that still in them. They might not listen to the music no more, but they know it. So now you got somebody, the internet is here now. So now you got kids that no matter what website they're on, all the music they listen to has it, the pop music, the country music, every form of music now has some element of hip hop or rap or Black music in it. So now they're introduced to this stuff all over the place. Honorable said decode is right. I'm shocked every time a basketball player is fined for saying pause or something like no Diddy. Why them people know about that? Yeah, LaMelo Ball just got fined for saying no homo. $100K. Dre says exactly, quit inviting everybody to the damn cookout. Oh, that damn cookout, boy. Oh, that damn. Let me show this now.
Ready? Mm-hmm. Swag.
Drip.
Bad.
Skibidi.
Good job.
Pop off.
Besties.
Bros.
Anyone born today, all the way up to children aged around 14, so roughly 2024 back down to 2010 in terms of when these younger consumers were born into the world.
Win.
W.
Loss.
L.
Game.
Riz.
Someone you love or like baby.
Pookie.
Sis.
Pookie. Little Asian kids saying Pookie now. I'm saying the only problem with them is they're pretending like the language comes from LGBT community, not African American vernacular. And exactly, they give credit to other people. Margot says, "Why would we be to blame for their lack of love, pride of their own culture?" Well, when you the hot people, look, we have to admit that regardless of where we are economically and socially in this country, for whatever reason, I know it's spiritual. Black Americans have a certain energy where it's just cool. It's just cool. And once again, you also got to remember rebellious. Kids or younger people rebel. So anything that they're not supposed to like, they like. So black people are being connected to struggle, but they're also being connected to rebellious nature to the system. So everything we do becomes the cool side. So now you got little Asian kids saying Pookie. It's crazy.
Suspicious.
Sus.
Weak.
Beta.
I think it's really important for all of us to understand how we interact with one another, but also for companies to understand how these different generations of consumers approach and interact with the world so differently. And what we saw emerging with Gen Alphas, who are the children of millennials, is that millennials raise them as mini-me's. And we see a close relationship in terms of how they approach life, the brands that they use, the lifestyle that they're creating for their families.
Doing a good job.
Cooking.
Feels like something else.
Giving.
Hot mess.
Lord have mercies. Says Mark said they say it's survival. Adopting and assimilating into the culture is only surviving, which is why it's not frowned upon. Brilliant said, for real, hood language change every 5 years, so let them have. Yeah, that's another thing. But Brilliant, the reason why they don't work is every time it changed, a Negro would get on the internet and give a whole understanding of every way it can be used to the whole world. Like I always said, there was a time where if you're from South Carolina, if you went to Chicago, there was words you didn't know, but context clues would tell you what it meant. You know that if you go certain places and hear certain words, all right, let me pay attention to the energy. I know that this is probably what it is. Now they just tell you. The internet, somebody just go on the internet and tell you what it means. Like, what's that word? Thought. That was a Chicago term. At least from how I found out about the word with Chief Keef and all them. That was a term they use in Chicago. Now you had the whole world uses it now. So, Grace says exactly that Asian dude, W. Kassanat was complaining about how hard it is to not say the N-word. Like, crazy. It's crazy. That's another thing too. And the Asian people, I keep saying this, are probably the best at completely assimilating into a culture. Like I said, if an Asian kid or Asian person grew up around nothing but white people, and you get on the phone with them, you're not gonna be able to tell the difference on what their background is. Same thing if they grew up in a black neighborhood. They completely adopt every mannerism, every way they say a word, everything.
Yes.
Brat.
They absolutely love being entertained by companies.
All right, we get the point of this. Brilliant said they mustard, they never catch you. Yeah, man. But, if you're going to keep giving it to them, then you have to work harder. You have to reinvent yourself even quicker, which might be a reason why. That's a good point you're making now. I can take it another way. Because, like you said, Black Americans, for the most part, we tend to, things don't stay around too long, which is a bad thing that happens in our community, because that happens with our artists as well. If you hot, you're not going to be hot forever. At some point, you're going to get turned around and it's time to move on to something else. That also happens with the language and stuff and what we deem as cool, that's how we dress. If you wear something that people wore 5, 6, 7 years ago, you're going to be considered dated. Why are you still wearing that? That's not what we're wearing anymore. That's not cool. So that also might be a problem when it comes to our music, as far as it being something that's long lasting at this point. We don't let something breathe and try to last longer than 5 years, because you know people are going to say it's not cool no more. Mark says they are doing this when they are young. When they are older, they be like their parents. Exactly. By the time they hit 20, 21, 22, they graduate college or whatever, and they start going into corporate America. Yeah, this is a trend or a fad for them. It ain't something that lasts when they get older. I remember that story a few years ago of it was a Jewish guy who was lying and saying that he was Puerto Rican, and by the time he hit like older age, he hit his early 20s after college, he shredded all that stuff he was doing, the hair and all that stuff, the way he was dressing, put a suit on and took over his father's business and went on with his life. As you said earlier, they don't want the culture. They don't want the struggle. They just want the culture. They just want to enjoy it for a little while. All right, let's skip that. Next topic. All right, let me show this now. This picture right here said a lot to me. Says it's not that thing don't stay around long. Once that 5-year cycle hit, it's just not as trendy amongst us. Those things are still there. Well, it reminds me of the idea that something like if you look at the UK, for instance, and you look at the clothes they're wearing, a lot of the stuff they're wearing, the way they're dressing, is the way you've seen people in America dress in like the early 2000s, late 90s. Like they're like behind as far as where we are here. That happened with white America, like y'all said, late back in the day, but I feel like that gap is a lot closer now. Dre said, lying about your ethnicity will all be crazy to me. Hey, that's what they do. They hide. All right, but this picture. I'm scrolling X, and I seen this post right here. It's especially in New York. They do it a lot up there, apparently. And it's a drawing or a painting or whatever you want to call it of a group of black women sitting on the roof with an American flag, drinking their Starbucks coffee while the country burns to the ground. And I understand it's supposed to symbolize this idea of, we fought for this country, we did what we could, now we're going to let y'all burn to the ground. We're done protecting, we're done fighting for you, we're done being the savior of this country. And I've been talking about it the last couple of weeks because it's been something that need to be talked about, which is the God complex or the savior complex that unfortunately the Democratic Party has placed on a lot of black women. I almost said I see what the UK makeup they're doing the 90s trend now. Yeah, the way they do their hair, everything. And the reaction to it, a lot of people felt like it was just the ego that's being pushed and the rejection that's being felt is getting to a point where there seems to be a real psychosis going on amongst that demographic. Once again, not all black women. And I said the response to this picture had me all confused when black men started playing victim in the comments. That's not what I want to get to. The whole idea of black men wanting to be represented. I don't get that. The point I'm making is this picture was weird to me because if stuff really hit the fan, this is posted by Tether, Honorable. All right. But if stuff really hit the fan, why would you think your demographic will even be able to just have their feet up chilling? Now, this ain't how these type of events go. And it needs to be pointed out that some people need to check their ego. Dre says, them UK folks were trying to say that they made night tech fleece trendy like no. Craig says, all these crash outs over Hindu bedwench. And once again, I keep saying it's a particular demographic. It's that I want to say all college educated, but normally college educated, those political people, those intersectional feminists, those boule, sorority member types, even fraternity member, the dudes doing it too. Mark says, this looks disturbing. It looks like black American women are up there while letting black American men and children are down there suffering. It's not about them watching the suffering. It's the idea that you think you've been convinced that much power is in your support of this party. If you go to the comments, you see this Terrain Walker. Shout out to him. He said, "You are truly delusional if you think this is where y'all will be positioned if this place collapses." 92% of what 6% of the population. No one cares. Cold hearted. Yada yada yada. So then I want to show the next thing I want to get to. Where he says, while white ladies went back to their husbands after they marched and protested. Well, yeah, it goes back to, if I'm not mistaken, the Wallace woman. I can't remember her first name right now. And how what we saw what happened with coming out of the civil rights era of the 60s, we went right into the feminist era of the 70s, where white women were able to convince black women to partner with them to make womanhood a minority. It's like Eve talking to the snake, man. It's like they fell for the trick of letting these people consider themselves a part of a sisterhood, and it's like they're not. They always put their race first, always. Honestly, I think we would be able to kick our feet up because we don't be those people's business. We keep to ourselves mostly. We're not the first on their mind when shit happens. Honorable, if we're talking about a shit hits the fan type moment, when shit hits the fan, the first group that gets targeted is men, and then the second group targeted is the women. 100%. There is no, if stuff really hit the fan and stuff went left, no woman in the country would be safe at all. As a matter of fact, the best thing you could do is to be next to a man. Like this is not how it goes at all. That's never been true in history. It's not true right now in any war. Anytime you hear about these war stories that happen in these foreign countries, the first thing that happens is the women become spoils of war. It never goes well. Truth be told, it would be really collapsed. They would probably be the first ones to impacted by it. Exactly. Honorable says, I don't get the white husband narrative. Single, uneducated white women played a higher role in the election results than married white women. Well, I guess you could say because married white women voted typical. They were going to vote with their husbands, who are mostly going to vote for the conservative side. It's a surprise, I guess, that single white uneducated women did it, because you would expect them to go, well, actually, uneducated people typically don't, but at least white uneducated typically don't, but the single, you expected them to go Democrat, but they didn't. All right, let me move on to this. I'm going to expand on this topic here. Let me play this. And this is what I'm saying about the gaslighting and the injection of that blow the ego that they're doing, the liberal left is doing to black women, which will not benefit them in the end. Honestly, I don't think this narrative applies to this community. First, there ain't that many of you men to be doing all this alleged protesting. Ray says, I love my black women regardless. They did a number on us all. That's my, yes. Thank you, Ray. That's the main point we need to stick with when we talk about these type of things. Ray says, they were always, the way I'd be scared to talk about Palestine or a friend of the LGBT community wouldn't last this place. Yeah.
I'm down here on the ground with these people that the left is concerned about. I'm out here preaching in these churches. I'm out here these political organizations. I'm out here trying to organize as much as I can, but also give some inspiration. So I'm out here with the folk as well. And the thing is, they want practical solutions.
And what's the Democratic Party offering in terms of practical solutions? The Democratic Party's not offering. Dr. Dyson, I'm afraid that you're organizing people into a burning house.
Why have I been hearing? I'm sorry. Why have I been hearing that term more the last couple of days? She used it. That's the quote from Martin Luther King. I heard that from Roland Martin, where they started sounding like Roland Martin. Them started sounding like black nationalists. They were talking about pulling their goods, pulling their resources together, and separating from all the rest of the country and depending on ourselves. I'm like, wow, Roland sounded like a black nationalist all of a sudden. I'm gonna say, y'all gotta stop letting digital blackface trigger us to have these unnecessary debates. It's not a debate I'm about to have. I'm gonna go further. Just give me a second. I'm drawing it out a little bit.
The Democratic Party has demonstrated that it would rather have Republicans win than to disappoint its donor class and actually embrace the policies that would make the material improvements to those people's lives that you're talking about. There's a reason why Kamala Harris would not support an arms embargo. She took more money from Raytheon than even Donald Trump did. She's a part of an administration where the Secretary of Defense was a Raytheon board member. These are material realities that are constraining the politics of the Democratic Party, and no nice lady coming along or nice man coming along who loves his grandkids and eats an ice cream cone and puts sunshades on and hangs out with Barack Obama can change that reality. So we have to stop focusing on who these people are and what they quote unquote represent in terms of their physical appearance.
Mark Gordon said, Roland talking like a black nationalist, or he got his check from Kamala. Oh, we're gonna talk about that check he got too.
And more about who they represent because of who's paid them and filled their campaign coffers.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that, but here's my...
Arnold said, who is she? I'm starting to see her more in my YouTube suggestion. Her name is, it's a Bad Faith podcast. Her name is Bree, I think it was. A couple years ago, she went viral because she was going back and forth with the squad, AOC and all them. I found out about her through Jimmy Dore. But yeah.
My point, when you said, I tell you what, let me turn this around. It ain't my podcast, but I want to ask you, since I got a smart person like you here, what is the alternative? What is the practicable, allowable, permissible politics that can be exercised in order for it to yield a benefit to the people that you and I are both concerned about? What is that?
So there's two things. Even if a Green Party doesn't win, I think you have to look to the historical precedents here and recognize that when there is a strong outside party, like we had with the communist and socialist parties in the New Deal era, that it was the labor organizing and outside political agitation from those groups that forced an FDR type figure to adopt the New Society programs that continue to be the bedrock of our social safety net.
So I don't need to play the rest of this. I'm playing this because this is Michael Eric Dyson trying to convince her that we need to stay with the Democratic Party because he's another person who's a Democratic shield, who's going to continue to push this narrative and tell black women that your safety is only with this party. I'm focusing on the black women right now. They sit to the black men as well, but I'm focusing on the black women right now. Hold on, let me move forward. All right. Oh, I got to skip this part. Hold on. No. No, I'm going to skip that too. Hold on, y'all. I'll come back to it. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to go to this right here. All right. Hold on. Let this load. All right. So there was a question asked by somebody on social media that tied directly to that picture. It ties directly to that picture. Hold on. 30. All right. And he asked a question about culture versus economic opportunity. All right. Let me show this. All right. So, Irami O.C. Frimpong. I can't say his whole name, but that's the guy I've seen. If you've seen Yvette Carnell, she's brought him on before. He's made some controversial opinions, at least controversial to me, when he said that black marriage won't work until we get reparations. So he asked this question right here. He said the family culture gap is more important than the wealth gap, but you can fix one without addressing. You can't fix one without addressing the other. So in this, he's making the argument that the reason why the black community is where it is because of the culture. We've heard of these talking points before. We already know this opinion that's being put out there. This is not necessarily a popular opinion amongst some people that don't like when you address it as just a culture problem instead of a systemic problem that's been placed on us. But he got this from somewhere, and when you hear people normally say a culture problem, they're normally referencing, or one of their references is going to be the Moynihan Report. I'm going to show that later. And this leads back to the idea of a shift in power within the community. 60s come, 70s come, the shift happens, and ever since then, the Democratic Party has had a complete grip on the Black American voting bloc. And it's because they shifted the power balance from a patriarchal to a matriarchal community. That's the suggestion, at least. That everything that you see from this party, from this country, has been constantly used to usurp authority, to give it to another demographic, to force a intra-communal battle for resources almost. That's why you see, when I look at this picture, I see competition. I see a demographic that believes that it's their job to save the world. And if it doesn't go their way, that they're going to sit out and not, quote unquote, do their part, as they'll say. And I'm going to show you this right here. So he made that comment about the culture gap. And this person right here said something that I thought was interesting. They said, why do Native Americans and Native Hawaiians have such low wealth and high incarceration rates? Is it because of their family culture gap? Do you make these cultural deficiency arguments for other groups, or is it just reserved for ADOS? He said the cultural deficiency is plain. The reason and shape of the deficiency is the only issue. No sane person looks at a community where 60 to 7% of the kids grow up in a single-parent household and think, yeah, their culture is fine. The ADOS have been targeted for vulnerability for hundreds of years. I'm just surprised that you are pretending that the target missed. He's an ADOS family. So that goes back to this right here. It's a wealth inequality, black and white, cultural and structural sources of the racial wealth gap. So in this all right here, they went back and forth. They did the comparisons between the wealth gap between black and white, and they used it from a cultural and structural lens to try and compare it. And basically, they came to a conclusion. There was another article I'm sure y'all have read where it says that poverty is normally attached to the men of a demographic. The worse off the men do, normally the worse off the community is, which is clearly a thing. If you look at the Black American community, the worse off the men are, typically, you look at the neighborhood, let's look at neighborhood for neighborhood. The average income for the men of that neighborhood typically dictates what that community is going to look like, obviously. So that goes back to this Moynihan report, where it was a whole study done to address the problems in Black community, where he came to the conclusion that it was cultural because he compared what happens with us with other demographics, particularly white people. And he pointed out, this is where I first saw the term, this was years ago, matriarchal community placed towards Black people in America. And he basically says that because our community is the way it is and our leadership and the head of household is the way it has led to a struggle economically. Now, he blames it on the culture, and he blames it on the slavery, Jim Crow, and all the other stuff. So he kind of does it not a liberal, but he does it from a, pathological way. But he basically says, this ain't gonna change until people flip who's in control in this community. Hold on, y'all. And every time, and I'm bringing this up because when I saw that picture and I saw the language and the verbiage being used by some Black women, where they were making the argument that, without us, it'll fail and all this other stuff, it made me understand that to some of these people, there is no partnership. There is no community, really. Some people think that they are completely separate from the community, that there is no real Black community. It's gender-based. It's Black women, Black men, and then it's the children, which is somehow the only connection between the two genders. Brittany says, when you do the wealth gap between married Black people, you get a different number. Black families matter. Well, see, that's the thing. In the Moynihan report, once again, I know some people don't agree with the conclusion he came to. He makes the point that it doesn't work, actually, because whenever middle-class Blacks, whenever they do move up in society and move forward, it doesn't last but one generation, because their kids are still impacted by being even close to what the culture is in the quote-unquote hood. And it made me think of when I was growing up, I grew up in what you would call a hood. And every time there was a dude or girl who come from a middle-class family, the family that could afford to have their kid have a sweet 16 and get a car at that age, and they always was able to go on vacations, not vacation, but the trips and all this other stuff. They family had a little bit of money. They was able to be middle America, obviously, middle income. Those dudes and those girls always dated somebody in the hood. And now we talk about the impact of our culture nowadays, where we view the struggle, we view the grind as the heart of the culture. So you got somebody who has kids that made it out of the hood, and their kids want to go back to the hood to feel more Black. So when you say that the married Black people have different numbers, it don't last because their kids, according to this report, once again, it's not all the way, people don't agree with it all the way. It don't last long because culturally, that culture that exists in the hood, which is the woman normally is the one who's the leader of the house and all this other stuff, it ends up penetrating those other households. Don't know about the poverty angle. There was a study of black boy from two-parent households that made $300K, the boys not being able to compete with their white peers. Research by Raj Chetty, which explores social mobility across racial and ethnic groups in the U.S. Their findings indicate that black boys raised in two-parent households often face worse economic outcomes compared to their white peers raised in similar households. Well, that's the point. Because it's not about the household, it's the culture. This is why when people make that idea, and I don't agree with this, people would say stuff like black immigrant families, their kids do better off because they come from a different culture. I don't believe that. I believe that's because of access to resources. Normally those people that move here typically have more resources, so it's not the same. But yeah, they say it's a cultural reason, not just two parents in the household. What are those two parents teaching their kids? And not even teaching them, what neighborhood are they in? What is the standard for that community? All right, let me jump back. This person right here, they posted this, that while other academics are doing actual work to test the hypothesis of comparing movers to non-movers, some are lazily parroting Moynihan and Thomas Sowell like he's saying something new, interesting, or insightful. Truly disappointing to see. And I'm going to read these two quotes and we can move on. It says, if the culture is embedded in group, her mover, non-mover comparisons would allow her to hold culture constant and vary migration. She found that the outcomes of black immigrants are more like those of native black movers than non-movers. Butch includes that selective migration rather than culture more consistently explains labor market differences between black immigrants and American blacks. The author used data from the 1910s and 1970s census to compare black migrants who left the South with their compatriots who remained in the South, both individuals who moved within the Southern region and those who remained in their state of birth. They found that blacks who move across regions often fared worse than both Southern-born blacks who move within the Southern region and blacks who remain in their state of birth. In terms of migration status affects non-labor markets outcomes. In a study of mortality, the economists Dan Black, Seth Sanders, Even Taylor, and Lowell Taylor found that survival rates decline among older African Americans as a result of moving north. But it goes into something else. So they teaching them they better than the ghetto blacks while letting them get bullied by Asians. Oh man. So basically this whole thing is the culture is since it's for the last at least 150 years has caused such it's upside down basically. This whole thing is basically upside down. And that picture made me think of that because when I see that picture and I seen the responses and the savior complex that existed, I realized that a lot of our people think that this can be solved on an individual level. That if I do well, or my people that are in my demographic, and I say demographic, I just mean gender at this point, if we do well, everything is fine. And no one's paying attention to the children, particularly, I'm just being honest, black boys. If black boys aren't doing well, the community will go nowhere. But yeah. Let me play something else now. Jasmine Crockett teaches oppression at anti-DEI meeting.
It's because you can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country. You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes. You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean and told that you are going to go and work. We are going to steal your wives. We are going to rape your wives. That didn't happen. That is oppression. We didn't ask to be here. We're not the same migrants that y'all constantly come up against. We didn't run away from home. We were stolen. So yeah, we are going to sit here and be offended when you want to sit here and act like, and don't let it escape you that it is white men on this side of the aisle telling us people of color on this side of the aisle.
I wish you didn't put that people of color in there.
That y'all are the ones being oppressed. That y'all are the ones that are being harmed.
Honorable says culture is too broad. What needs to be fixed, that two-parent household ain't it. I prefer to focus on community than that. It's not about the two-parent household being a problem. What is the standards? What is the expectations? Yeah, I can't turn the volume up on this one, Dre. My bad. What up on Code? Now, she went on this whole rant against them, the white dudes, making a point about quote unquote oppression. They were talking about obviously the Trump thing and all this other stuff going on. And she went on that rant. I wish they didn't use that as a talking point as often as they do, honestly. So I went and watched the whole thing. I appreciate not allowing African Americans to be lumped in with others, but getting them away from people of color is going to be a challenge. It's going to be challenging. Yeah, that's going to be very difficult. Actually, it's not. I disagree. I don't think it's going to be hard at all. I think this election told you that that rainbow coalition, like I said, the black and brown, the BIPOC, people of color, I think that's all over with. I think it's done. Matter of fact, let me show it's right. Let me show this. The show is done. Let me show this one.
I mean, but that's going to be the argument between, who gets reparations first. The blacks claim to say that, they're the first person or whatever. I mean, and, Raza is saying this is our land. You know what I mean?
Okay. Here's a question, and I wish maybe somebody that can speak for them would be here. Because let's just say, Marvelous, that I'm not looking for an argument, but I'm just looking to understand.
Right.
So are you saying that every person that is born colored black should get money?
No, hell no.
No, this is what I would ask him.
Oh, okay.
That's what I would ask him because I have nephews that are half black and half Mexican.
Right.
So because they were born looking black, they're going to get money too?
I mean, people that are truly indigenous to this land, they need that. That's their money.
Right,
Point blank,
right.
period. All the treaties have been broken. Land has been stolen.
Right.
And they built democracy.
People have been murdered, bro.
Yeah, people have been murdered, massacres. I mean, but that's...
Y'all heard the people. Uncle said racism is becoming more overt rather than covert. I'd rather the overt racism. I want to know who my enemy is. Even though I know already, but says when the other chick suggested the amendment that included everyone thing under the sun, I couldn't believe the shit. But they did get to protect HBCUs. Dre says, okay, that's fine. Honorable says Latinx people have no wins in America without blacks. Good luck, get your land back. Yeah, it's funny. Everything they've done has followed the playbook of black Americans. It's almost like I said, everybody's trying to get their piece of the pie, so they're trying to separate their political aspirations, which is, okay, I get it. Do for you. Worry about yours first. But this ain't going to go how you think. By race no account, they mix no black. Dre said, I heard people talking about they're going to start ordering at Starbucks again. Oh, yeah, they mad. They done with all the protesting. They said Starbucks. It was somewhere else. It was somewhere else they were protesting. They're saying they're going to cancel that now. Are we talking niggas? Are we taking niggas handouts again? Mark said they signed treaties. We didn't. They happily agreed to be white. That's the part that's so, look. What happened with, however far you think this went, whether you believe tens of millions of people were transported across the ocean, or if you believe that black people in America come from, as I believe, different demographics. You got the ones that came over from West Africa, you got the ones that were already here, and you got some that came over during the race wars of Europe in the 16, 17, 1800s. But if you sign treaties and got backstabbed, you just got tricked. Like, how do you expect reparations when you were tricked? Like that, you just got it just happened to you that way. I don't say every group has to cite our history when they do anything. Well, see, that's why I say you will become the face of struggle. At least in the global stage, you're the face of struggle, so they have to use you as a comparison because they know when they invoke your name or your history, it's going to bring out the emotions they want people to have towards their plight. Now, let me play this one now. Okay, they still, like, Some are still trying to push the black and brown thing, but it's dying, I think.
Over there. I was home. I go over there across Gardere, and they're living La Vida Loca over there. Our Latino brothers and sisters have taken over. I'm just being for real. Like, I mean, there's a whole park there where we used to go play basketball and do all of that stuff. I'm going to be honest with you. It was like the fucking World Cup over there the last time I was there.
Okay.
They were having a fucking fantastic time. It was actually fun for me because I was looking like, these niggas is playing soccer. The whole basketball court, not in use. It's people waiting to play soccer. They're playing soccer on the basketball court. It's just different. It wasn't like that when I was growing up. So I thought to myself, if in fact you send different government agencies into places to, quote unquote, deport illegals, how they would call them, or undocumented people, how decent people call them, well, then you're going to be sending them into neighborhoods like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're relying on law enforcement that a lot of times can't tell the difference between a Glock 17 and a Super Soaker. You're asking them to make decisions on people's nationalities, their status in America, all different types of things like that. There are a lot of dynamics that go into it. And I feel like my community there is in danger.
Sure.
The whole community there is in danger. It injects something into that community that's pernicious. A lot of the black people that are still living there from the time that I grew up, and a lot of the new residents of the area that are there now. And that particular part, when I saw that, I'm thinking that place could be lit on fire. The whole community there is in danger.
Now, when I heard this, I had to scratch my head. The man said that the community is in danger if you deport the people in the neighborhood who are quote unquote undocumented. He didn't say the community was in danger when they've been overrun. You just admitted that the neighborhood's demographics have changed so much that they don't even play basketball on the courts, they play soccer. You worried about these immigrants and not that, hey, this neighborhood that I grew up in, it's no longer ours. It's been taken over. You're not even acknowledging that part. And it's funny because in my neighborhood growing up, it was 98% black. Sprinkle of, a couple other families, but it was black. And I remember one day, a dude came running back to the neighborhood where I live, and they were running towards our house, and he was yelling, "Hey, they trying to get me, whatever." And he said he went to our basketball court and tried to play basketball, and a group of Mexicans came up, took it over, took his basketball, and threw it, and told him, basically said, "Gone somewhere." They didn't speak English, but they were just like, "Gone." So, and they used to do that. And the Mexicans used to go out there every Sunday. Now, they didn't live in our neighborhood, but we had a park, and the neighborhood they lived in was like a couple blocks away. So, one of the Sundays after that happened, all the black people, all the people in our neighborhood that played basketball, it had to be like 35, 40 of us. We went to that park, and we played all day. They didn't come that day. Then this next Sunday came. We went to that park again. They pulled up and they left. But we went to that park for about the whole summer. Every Sunday we went to that park and played basketball from 8 in the morning to 6 at night, 6 in the afternoon. We made sure, no, this is ours. Now, I was young at that point, so I didn't even know what that was. It was more so, it was just, this is our neighborhood. We're not going to let y'all just come use it. I didn't even view it from a race standpoint. I didn't even view it from a black Mexican thing. I viewed it from this is my neighborhood, and we this is ours. Y'all not going to come here and just use our park. Now, it's funny because now I'm older. The neighborhood I used to live in is not as black anymore. Most of the people, and I'm being honest when I say this, it's going to paint a certain picture, but it ain't quite what I'm about to say. A lot of the people that were there back then, they either moved, I'll be honest, are in jail. Some of them died. So that place is not as protected. So now that I'm older, I realize, damn, we were really gatekeeping our neighborhood. We really protected our neighborhood, even if it was just a basketball court at that point. But now you go to that neighborhood, it's a lot of Native Americans, Mexicans, and all that other stuff. So it's not as black as when I grew up. So now I really understand the idea of protecting your neighborhood and stuff, which is something you heard from, the 60s, 70s and stuff. So I realized how important that moment was, what we did, and how without those moments, it leads to what it is now. So it just made me think of that. But yeah, he not even worried about the neighborhood. He worried about these immigrants getting deported. He not even worried about his childhood neighborhood completely changing demographics. Hey, Brady said, same in Baltimore. Jalapenos have taken over respectfully. Adam said, this is my biggest fear when y'all push for black male leadership. We need to first address how much men in our community like being conquered by Caribbeans and Latinx. Lit on fire was harsh. Dr. Dre said a lot of the Israelites try to push the black and brown thing, but it gives me mixed opinions. Bro, let me talk about this for a second. When I first started watching some of those Israelite dudes, and I agree with a lot of the stuff they said, when you first learn about it, you go, oh snap, I'm a teenager at this point. It's like, oh snap, this is crazy. You learn about something spiritual, something real. You find out the world ain't what you think it is with a lot of other things. And then you start hearing this black and brown thing. And then you get older and you start to form your own opinions on things. So I want to speak against those camps, because a lot of those camps, through YouTube videos, YouTube University, I came to a lot of understanding on certain things. But damn, man, some of the stuff I can't get with, man. So I can't bash them completely, but I could never join one of those. It's just, I don't get it. Is it good for your gatekeep blackness? Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh yeah, let's get to this. What's up with y'all girl, man? Uncle said, black female leadership is single motherhood. I push for black male leadership. Well, let's look at it like this. What era of black American history, just here in America, would we consider our community under black male leadership? And when would you say it turned into more black female leadership? And we can do a comparison that way. Because I think one side is very clearly different from the other, or had different outcomes at least. Alma says, learning how to gatekeep might be the theme of 2025 for the community. CMA taught some people how to gatekeep with a Shabuzi embarrassment. The man had the biggest, honorable. The man had the biggest song, according to numbers, in the country for the whole year. Broke records. And they didn't give him nothing. They didn't give him best new artist. They didn't give him best song. They didn't give him nothing. They told Beyonce the reason why they can't completely get behind her is because she's not interacting with us. Come to Nashville and sit with us and live with us and grow with us. Shabuzi played all the games. He did it all. He put all white people in this video. He went and hung out with the right people, made remixes with these people. He sat with the right people, and y'all ain't give him shit. Oh, man. Brayden says, with all this single households, women can't teach boys how to be men, and young men raised by women are mad sensitive. It ain't just sensitive. I don't like when people boil it down to just sensitive. I think I came to the understanding that when people say, like for instance, you see a dude who get too emotional too quick and decide to shoot somebody out of his anger, and they'll say that's toxic masculinity. I said, no, that's a lack of masculinity. The problem in our community when it comes to stuff like that is there's not enough masculinity amongst our young men, our young boys. They're, to be quite honest with you, they're too feminine. Marco, the song is based on the Black American hip hop. Yeah, Tipsy by what's his name? Yeah, he brought him out on stage when he performed it. I wonder if he getting royalties from that song, by the way. Where he says, "And emotional, hence the killing." Anonymous says, "80s when black men were turning everyone into crackheads. I still think they were getting revenge on black women because Tupac said, even though you're a fiend, you're still a black queen. They triggered the man." I don't know, get out of here with that. I would say by the time the 80s came, the black community was in full throttle under the black women leadership. Or at least it was a complete change in the black man being at the forefront. Dre says, facts, he is Nigerian, if I'm not mistaken. Uncle said femininity isn't naturally violent. Well, masculinity is supposed to be protection, and you're supposed to be willing to be violent with that protection. But I wouldn't say femininity isn't violent. I think the problem with it is anger and emotions run high and people react impulsively rather than thinking logically. So that's the difference. Brayden says, crack was socially engineered and flooded, but by the government same time took black men out the household. I think that by that time it was already going on from the 60s and 70s. I think by the time the 80s came, that was just the kick. You was already shot. Now they're just kicking to see if you're dead at that point. By the time the 80s came, that finished it off, and made it what it is today. Yeah, there's interviews from documentaries all the way back from the 70s of women making the argument that they'd rather have a child than get married, and the way they were talking about relationships and the community at large. Black women, for the most part, by the time the 70s came, there was no idea of black men being the head honcho or the leaders of the community. That was already gone. I can make an argument that kind of died with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, or at least the 70s, at least it was already gone. Honorable said, most of society views black men as some of the most masculine men. I don't get the single mom narrative. No, they don't. No, they do not consider black men masculine. They consider black men violent. That's not the same thing. I don't get the single mom narrative. Men should focus on attacking black women so they don't realize what they say about themselves. I agree with them. If you dedicate all your time to critiquing and attacking the women, you are kind of, in essence, pointing out the flaws of the men. But yeah, they don't view black men as masculine. They view them as violent and dangerous. It's not the same thing. Brayden says, men build societies, women take care of it, nurtures. Exactly. Same way men build cultures, women teach it to the kids. Travis be missing. I'll be sure to tell him. All right, let me get back to this. Hold on, y'all. All right. Kamala Harris interviewers received large campaign donations to their groups ahead of sit-downs. So as we already knew, after all that talking, saying that they was just super supporters of Kamala Harris and they thought she would win and she could fix the country, we now know for a fact they was taking checks. We knew it already, but now it's been completely exposed. So let me show this right quick. Dre says, yep. If they have been wanting to be mothers over wives, that does what does it say about men if women have always been, hold on, I can't see that word. Hold on. Insane. Well, in that argument, they weren't necessarily saying they don't want to be wives. They didn't even prioritize it. It was because, and I don't agree with this completely, there's people of the mindset that when it came to the social safety net that America created, it got rid of the idea that women and men needed each other as much. This is why white men right now, and I keep saying this, I know y'all probably tired of me saying this, white men right now are trying to remove the societal safety net in order to force women back into their normal domesticated roles as wives and mothers at home. They're trying to get rid of no-fault divorce. They're trying to get rid of this affirmative action, which was for white women, so they can get all these scholarships and all these opportunities in college and education so they can move into these higher earning careers. But there was a report just released that women under the age of 40 or 30, I can't remember, own more homes than the men under that age. So financially or economically, women are doing better than men. So when you have that situation, you now have the women who have more money, more resources than the men. So it's less kids. It's less kids, less marriages, and your population is shrinking. So that's why some people believe that during the 60s, 70s, when the welfare and the social safety net grew, it led to there was already a friction amongst black men and black women. But once there was an option given to where it's not just that, I'll say that it's not just that you can believe that black women decided to dismiss black men from positions of authority in the household and kick them out because they can get welfare. It could also be black men made a decision to go on about their day and not deal with certain things because, hey, the government will take care of the kids. So it's not just the black women, it's the black men as well. Umar said they tried to pay him. He said that and they came out and denied it, but I don't know. Dre said that the heroin epidemic was around the late 60s, 70s. Yeah. I don't say this was before welfare. Don't blame a safe net. that has to be a part of it. Gordon said the country messed up good. This is proof that we haven't recovered from chattel slavery at all. Let me get back to this. Kamala Harris interviews received large campaign donations to their groups ahead of sit-downs. FEC filings show organizations run by Al Sharpton and Roland Martin received payments from the Harris campaign ahead of their interviews with a Democratic candidate. Vice President Kamala Harris' campaign reportedly gave large amounts of money to organizations run by media figures in the weeks before sitting down for interviews with them. FEC filings first reported the Washington Free Beacon showed that Harris' campaign gave two $250,000 donations to Reverend Al Sharpton's nonprofit organization in September and October. Isn't Tamika Mallory a part of that organization as well? Her and what's the rapper's name? I forgot his name. It's a rapper. I forgot his name. Harris sat down for a friendly interview with MSNBC host on October 20th, in which he asked her what she wanted her legacy to be 50 years from now. Sharpton wasn't the only media ally that received a payment from the campaign to his organization ahead of the sit-down interview, a bombshell New York Times report revealed. The campaign also gave $350,000 payment to New Vision Media on September 9th, according to FEC filings first reported by the Times. Uncle said, "They love you, Honorable. Black Power." Honorable said, "Dre, it was earlier than the 60s, 70s. I was reading some Ebony magazines from the 40s, and black preachers were speaking against blues and heroin destroying the community." I want to say, I forgot, it was after one of those wars. I can't remember which war it was, where a lot of the veterans came back with addictions, and it led to the streets being flooded with it. I can't remember which one. Mark Gordon says nonprofit. Exactly.
Well, we don't believe you. You need more people.
They laundering money. So Roland Martin got $350. The former CNN contributor told the Times the payment was for advertising. It should have been a hell of a lot more, he said, according to report. More should have been spent on black-owned media. I remember he was complaining about BET. He went on a little rant where he pointed out that on election night, Kamala Harris was at Howard University, and he said at least he was the only black news media company or news media that was there. That BET wasn't there. They weren't live streaming or reporting on the election night and stuff. And he pointed out that BET got $10 million in advertising to do that black Black Men Summit they did. Now I don't know if Kamala gave them that. I'm not saying Kamala Harris gave them $10 million, but they had a $10 million advertising budget. And he pointed out how the viewership on that video had like 200,000. And he pointed out one of his videos had 1 million. Even though I'm still wondering how you got 1 million subscribers and have, 40 people on your live stream. That's crazy. Vietnam. I think it might have been Vietnam. I got to look at, hold on, let me see something. American Wars. No, it was World War I. No, II. World War II. World War II, that was 1939 to 1945. Yeah, that's when you had the heroin pop off. When all the heroin was imported. That was a World War II. Brilliant nonprofit, my pocket. Honorable says, "I'm low-key embarrassed about the amount of blacks receive. They're talking down to us dirty for crumbs." Exactly. I would expect $350. She should have gave you at least 1.5. I mean, they gave Oprah what, 2.5 million. They gave the singer girl, they gave her like 2 million. They gave Beyonce 10 or whatever. Like, damn. Chat GPT is your friend, dude. Use it. Oh, dang. That's crazy, Honorable. Margot said, imported from where? Well, there's people that believe that it came from South America. Not South America, I'm sorry. It came from the Middle East. It came from the Middle East. That's why they ended up going into, later on, decades later, they ended up going into Afghanistan and Iran and all those, Iraq and all those places. But a lot of people believe that a lot of that came from the Middle East. They were importing, I forget what's the name of that? Is it poppy seeds? Is that the one? Is that coke? Which one is the mixed heroin? Is it poppy seeds? One of those. I want to say it was the Middle East. One more. I'm gonna look at one more. Hold on. Wait. opium, poppy, and they still getting that from Middle East to this day, or at least remember they had military protecting the whole field of it a couple like 10, 15 years ago. That Dre said the Korean and Japanese was around that time. Vietnam was in the 60s. Ratchet culture is Caribbean culture. But yeah, 350K. Matter of fact, shout out to Tone Talks. He got the whole receipt right here. As you can see, 350,000. Media buy, advertising. Man, oh man. All that talking, all that kicking somebody back in. He even got somebody threatened to whoop his ass in Chicago because he was talking crazy. Brain said, and you wonder how the British got hooked on tea. Yeah, Tone Talks, man. Go subscribe. Tone is a real dope, man. By the way, Tone been going in on that, what's it called? Prize Picks. He's going in on these podcasters and these people with platforms who pushing betting on black people. If I'm not mistaken, didn't they say that right now the average American has more money in betting apps than stocks? Tony to run for office. That never runs well for people who got his politics, especially where he at. So I don't know if that'll work out for him, but hey, he should, man. Give it a run. Why not? I'm gonna run through the last story. We're gonna get into a little bit of geopolitical stuff. Says Frank Lucas claimed America military casters were transported his work. Yeah, but he got his from Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken, or one of those Asian countries. I want to say it was Vietnam. He got his straight from them. Or Anderson protege. All right. About 1,500 migrants form a new caravan in Mexico. Here's what it means. So there's apparently 1,500 migrants on the way trying to get into the country before Trump get in office. I don't get it. If you get in the country, he's planning on deporting. So more than likely, Greg Abbott in Texas is probably going to hold you at the border for the next couple months and just remove you when Trump get in office. I don't know why you would even bother try. We can skip that for now. We should have maybe next week or something. All right. Russia says Ukraine attacked it using U.S. long-range missiles, signals it's ready for nuclear response. So Joe Biden, in his last effort to F everybody over, decided that he would give Ukraine the green light to use long-range missiles on Russia. And apparently they did. And now Russia, again, for the last 2 years, is threatening nuclear response. Of course he would do this on his way out. It's crazy. Then you have homes are so expensive, regular. That's not. I don't mean to show that one. What the hell? Oh, Russia says Ukraine. That's not what I wanted. Hold on. No. All right. World War III has officially begun. Ukraine ex-top general says the former commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian army has a grim outlook on the state of the war. Online betting and crypto will be number one in 2025. Boy, that crypto. Crypto, maybe a couple dollars, I'm gonna be honest. Trump got in there and stuff started moving, boy. Ukraine former military commander-in-chief Valery said that the direct involvement of Russia's autocratic allies in this war on Ukraine means that the World War III has started. It's been going on really for the past 2 years, though, but yeah. This is Russia sending a ballistic missile to Ukraine. Yeah. America's not ready for this, man. Every time I see this stuff, I realize more and more how American citizens are not ready for a war to really touch America. And it ain't going to be sweet like I think it's going to be. I'm saying, why is the war still going on? This is the most boring, longest war. They don't even bother showing us footage of what's happening. No, it's not the longest. That would be Vietnam is one of the longer wars. I think, did Vietnam no, Iraq actually lasted 20 years too, I think. Well, there's clearly something in Ukraine that I believe somebody is trying to hide or help destroy. I believe that America has been baiting Russia to pretty much nuke Ukraine to destroy some evidence or so they can rebuild it or something. For big Israel, we talked about that before. I believe Biden knows that more than likely the second Trump gets in office, he's going to stop giving money to Ukraine, which means that war will be over in a couple months. and he's trying to just give them more weaponry and more allow them to shoot more weapons to try and push the war even further to force Russia's hand, more than likely. Breen says Fort Bragg was so bad with illegal drugs they changed the name to Fort Liberty. Oh no, they said it was because of he was a Confederate, the Confederate name. He said it's because of drugs. Damn. Honorable says nothing in Ukraine but LGBT. Well, there's people that suggest that there's servers there that was holding certain information. There's people that believe there was some money laundering going on there. So who knows? We said a lot of biomedical labs. Yeah, in Ukraine, a lot of biomedical labs that's there that was paid off through America. Mark Golden says Pastor Darby talked about Ukraine being tied to Israel. I don't remember the details. Well, where Ukraine is, I can't remember the name now. We talked about this like 2 years ago. Where Ukraine is where the Ashkenazi people used to live back before they started calling themselves Jewish people. So that's their real homeland. And there's articles be shown for the last 10, 15 years that's been calling Ukraine Big Israel. So Ukraine is the core of caves of the Troglodytes. Yeah, Manhattan DA suggests freezing Trump's case while he is president. With President-elect Donald J. Trump's sentencing on hold, his lawyers are pushing to dismiss the case. The district attorney, Alvin L. Braggs, is opposing the effort. So I feel like Letitia James, Bragg, and Fannie should I say, they're in fear that Trump is in office. Now, you see they're saying that Fannie was taking the confiscated resources from Young Thug to pay her boyfriend, right? Uncle said Caucasus Mountains run through Ukraine. Yeah, that's their real homeland. So now they want to they want to just wait until Trump's no longer president to try and put him out of his misery, at least give him 100 years. Matt Gaetz withdraws his attorney general nomination at this cloud. Yeah, we know. They say he with that 16-year-old girl. He was never going to get in, so it is what it is. House Speaker backs transgender bathroom restrictions on Capitol Hill. The fact that this is even a thing. So what's that woman name? The woman that Michael Eric Dyson was flirting with, Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace came out and said that she's against the men being in woman spaces. So now you got a transgender politician. I think the first one voted in. They don't want him in the female bathroom. So now this is a whole culture war going on in our White House because a man wants to go in the female bathroom. U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson has backed the plans to ban transgender women from using female bathrooms on Capitol Hill. Hold on. Briggs says it's basically about the U.S. helping Ukraine advance their territory after signing treaties that they wouldn't. Russia is saying, no, we ain't having it. Yeah, that's why Russia doesn't want you to join NATO. We don't want you to join NATO because you're going to put nukes on our border. So hell no. So y'all not joining NATO, and y'all, as a matter of fact, we want the whole east side of this country. We want the whole east side of this country. Give it to us. Because these are Russian citizens anyway. They speak our language. They follow our religion. These are our people. Says Biden must be planning to lay to rest in that country. He did more for them than in America. Why would he want them losing to be his legacy? He doesn't. They have a greater plan. They want to build it up. See, that's a lot. Why do you say out of destruction comes rebirth? So when you destroy something, you have to build it up. And when you have to build it up, you get to generate money. Like the war generates money because we got to build weapons. We got to hire people to build these weapons and all this other stuff. When you got to build something up and you can take all this money in from all these countries around the world that have put money towards building the country back up after a devastating war. The same thing happened with Germany. When Germany lost their war, somebody had to build that country back up. So somebody made money building it back up. Yeah, order out of chaos, exactly. The U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson has backed the transgender. Women deserve women's only spaces. Yada yada yada. We get the point. I'm gonna move past this. It's just a culture war at this point.
Hello, everybody. I just want to make a statement.
Honorable said we must be going through a rebirth as well. Following that, we are. I say that rebirth has been going on since 2020. There's a whole shift in the whole planet. The whole planet is under. We're about to be under new terms on who's going to be the new leaders of the world. You see, the Chinese are trying to get it. They're trying to be the new police of the world, the people who lead, the leaders of the world. You got the Saudis and stuff who are going to be the ones who decide financially, at least economically, who's the one going to get that backing. And Israel are the ones who are just going to follow whoever is in the lead. So, yeah.
And for all of you here, and be very clear, I was asked a question this morning at the leadership gaggle, and I rejected the premise because the answer is so obvious. For anybody who doesn't know my well-established record...
Sorry, and on the level you might be talking about, just black people in general, the idea of delineating, I always say, separate. You have to separate before you can come together. You got to separate to create lines and boundaries of what is and what it is, and then you can come together on your common goals and stuff. Well, you said Russia's GDP is less than California. I ain't about money. They got nuclear weapons. Exactly. And resources. Russia's a giant place that they've been trying to get into for a long time. But, you know, it's hard to get in Russia because their terrain is so, you know, extreme. Like, I remember when you read about Napoleon, I think I'm reading that right. I might be wrong. Napoleon, you can't go to war in winter. It's a bad idea to go to war in the winter against a country that is used to those very cold climates.
Record on this issue, let me be unequivocally clear. A man is a man, and a woman is a woman, and a man cannot become a woman. That said, I also believe, that's what Scripture teaches, what I just said, but I also believe that we treat everybody with dignity, and so we can do and believe all those things at the same time, and I wanted to make that clear for everybody because there's lots of questions, but that's where I stand. I've stood there my whole life, and those are facts. Hello, everybody.
Honorable says, but black women attempt to separate allegedly and are shamed to death. Honorable, you're not supposed to separate based off your gender. You're supposed to separate based off your culture. You shouldn't be separating from your men. You need them. See, and this is my point. See, that picture is going to be very important in the next year or two. I think a lot of black women, unfortunately, are under the impression that they don't need their man to protect them because they've been told for the last couple of years, or at least for the last decades, actually, that they're unprotected. They don't really know what not being protected really is. Like, if you really ain't got no protection, it looks way different than it's looked for a long time in this country. Where he says they have pyramids in a Russia, like Africa. They have, I ain't gonna get into it. They got a lot of stuff in Russia. They got a lot of stuff in Russia to tell their true history. Because Russia has the Caucasus Mountains too. I said trans is nothing but another chapter of white man victimhood. I'm offended by the topic. Uncle said, you got it right. Shamed to death. Yeah. Napoleon was the one who did it. He tried to fight in the winter. Funny enough, the North African black dude, what's his name? Hannibal. When he went against Rome, he actually went in the winter as well and lost. Honorable says that picture was digital blackface. I honestly seen many African Americans push against the narrative. That's understandable, but I think there are some, the ones I'm talking about. Once again, I'm not talking about you or the average black woman. I'm speaking towards that demographic that supports that. They're gonna realize real soon not real soon, but they'll realize at some point, hopefully not in our lifetime, what it really looks like when you're not protected. Anyway, I think I'm gonna let y'all get up out of here. Hold on, let me see. Hold on. It's a little shorter, 2 hours a day. I'm gonna let y'all get up out of here. Ain't gonna lie. I gotta start making sure before I do these shows I'm drinking some tea or something. I'd really be able to talk at any of these. I was like, wait, Kate, I didn't get a segment? Not this week. I didn't get to listen to it in complete. I listened to it yesterday, but I didn't get to listen to it for a second time yet. I like it. There's one song in particular I think gonna be what rings at the Super Bowl, by the way. That what's the name of it? TV Off. That's gonna be the song he performs at the Super Bowl instead of Not Like Us, more than likely. So we'll see. Uncle said, Trevor, bring his best back to the mic. I understand all those disrespect the word. I know, Honorable. I couldn't get to it like I wanted to. I want to do a full listen to it and actually listen to the lyrics, not just the beats and I like the music, you know. I gotta really listen to the lyrics and stuff. I'm gonna say Love TV Off and Man in the Garden. Yeah, Man in the Garden too. Like I can't. There's four that's coming off. There's four beats that's in my head right now, but I don't even know the name of the other two. I only got to listen to it once so far. But I'm gonna listen to it again later on. Definitely will be talking about it next week though, more than likely. Anyway, I'm gonna let y'all get out of here, man. I can barely talk right now. I gotta start drinking some tea or something before I talk this much. But yeah. Anyway, man, thank y'all for coming through, spending some time, having a good conversation with your boy. Really appreciate the support. And as always, y'all be safe. We're going to be all right. Yeah, y'all be safe. All praise to the Most High. And peace, man. Zip it up and zip it out.